Welcome to meeting number 2 for the Catalyst Circle. I will start by sharing my screen so we have the agenda going. Can you all see the agenda?
Yep.
All right. So for attendance, we have Harris now, and JP is on a call, so he'll join us as soon as he can. So I'll do some secretarial stuff as well as facilitating as best I can while we go. So why don't we just do a quick check-in and see where everybody's at. We'll start with Joey and then go to Nadia.
As far as I'm in Philadelphia, that's a start, right? So since the last time we
And this is just a check-in to see how you're doing, your mental state, and it's not enough.
Oh,
to do that next.
well, my head is spinning and, you know, like the rest of us. So that's where I'm at. I'm happy though. So just keep moving.
Awesome. Nadia and then Dumpling.
Yeah, so this is like a few hours of calm before the storm. So it's nice to just enjoy that since we passed the proposal deadline and now we're waiting for CAing to start. It's been a really wonderful week of building up. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of new discoveries and adventures this coming week. So yeah, sip coffee slowly for a bit and then looking forward to the intensity of the coming assessment time.
Yeah. Dumpling and then Warren.
Hey guys, in the UK here, very sunny day, good mood, mental health, very stable, not crazy. And I will have 2 cleaning ladies come, I think in an hour or so. If they do, I will just have to mute myself for 1 minute to let them in. You know what's happening then. Look forward to the meeting.
Thanks. How are you doing, Warren? And then Dimitri after.
Doing really well. A lot of great activities going on. It's one of those things kind of leading up to trying to take a break, and it's very difficult in crypto to take a break, but I'm going to attempt to relax, but it's always stressful trying to lead up into a few days off, but I'm kind of excited for that. Winding down the week with a lot of activities for sure, and just happy and always still excited to be working in this space, and you know, happy to be here with all of you folks and helping to solve some challenging problems that we have out there.
Beautiful. Dimitri and then Mercy.
Yeah, so I'm happy that we are meeting at this time instead of the earlier time, because Joey is also able to be more comfortable and all that. And also it's a better time for me than 10:30 in the night. That's one thing. The second thing is I'm very happy that the proposal stage is over because that was quite hectic. And on that note, also I'm happy that my kids were able to put 3 small proposals in. Because they also were very keen to do their own contributions to Catalyst and stuff like that. So they've got 3 proposals going as well. So let's see what happens there. Other than that, it's great. Looking forward to the CA round because that's always fun. Yeah, that's about it from me.
All right, thanks, Richie. How are you doing, Mercy? And then JP.
I'm doing pretty well, considering. It's been fast. It's been busy. You know, from a proposer perspective, it's great that has you know, sort of wrapped up. And over here, it's daylight. It was daylight savings on Sunday, so I still feel, you know, sleep deprived on top of, you know, trying to get proposals in and help others to get proposals in. So that's my state of mind, but I think I will be okay. Thanks, everyone. If I'm not communicating sensibly, that could be the reason.
We all understand. JP, how are you doing?
Yeah, hey guys, sorry, it's crazy, another crazy work week for me. So I'm only available till 1 my time today. My DG scheduled a call at 1 o'clock, so I'm gonna have to jump off a half hour early. I apologize for being late as well. Here, I'm ready to learn and help, and so just grateful to be here. And apologies again for being late.
All right, thanks. For myself, I'm really happy that proposals are done and shipped. It's been a pretty intense couple of weeks. And then I'll probably do some CA stuff. So just kind of like Nadia on the calm before the storm to jump into the next phase. And I really appreciated town hall yesterday, just talking about kind of being aware of burnout and getting tired, because I am sensing a certain level of people being really tired of now we're into Fund 8 and just Fund 9 is looming and just all that. I sense a great tiredness out in the community. And I see it in a lot of the funded proposers that are having to do their next round of proposals in the middle of trying to execute what they've been funded for. And it's kind of, yeah, I'm happy that people are bringing it up and talking about it. And I think we should maybe even think about how do we incentivize people to take some time off now and then. If we value mental health and sustainability, then maybe we should have a vacation token or something to incentivize people and reward those things we value. But that's kind of my mental space right now, but I'm super excited to be here. And thanks everybody for contributing to the agenda. We have a 2-minute window right now to just do announcements. If anybody has anything quick they want to announce to the group. Otherwise, we can move into the agenda review. No announcements. Okay. So looking at the agenda, we have our standard circle stand up. And then in the consent agenda time, we have the Joey show. So we have Joey talking about subcircles, the timing of funding cycles, fireside chat, handshake, and relay race, community treasury, and then Nadia has circle position on serving as a VCA arbitration body and for special projects, and then collaboration on recruiting CAs across groups. Is everybody happy with that order? Are there any topics that you want to add or remove? The current timing estimates takes us up to about 1:30, which if that's true, then we may have a shorter meeting today, which would be super nice. But
Can I, oh, did I interrupt, Nori? Sorry.
Go ahead, Mercy. Do you have something you want to add to the agenda?
I think so. Modification of the statements that we put in the last meeting. Is that doable?
Yeah. What statement?
The one, as outlined in town hall yesterday, sort of instead of, when it comes to sustainability for governance, community projects, it's not that we have a solution in terms of giving maybe preferential treatment to some groups, but more the question is how can we ensure sustainability for programs such as governance, education, training, marketing, those service type activities that we need to do in order to make sure that Catalyst is sustainable.
There's that reframing point that you had in your slide, right, Mercy?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, I put it in as sustainability for core services and Catalyst. Does that capture it? Okay. All right, anything else?
I know there was certainly a lot of dialogue, I guess, Dimitri, about sort of income. I don't know if that's something you want to discuss here.
We've resolved it, Harris, because I spoke with JP yesterday, And we had a discussion about that, and we decided that actually I spoke to Mercy about it a couple of days ago. And after that, I spoke to JP about it yesterday. And we discussed, and he was quite all right with us putting a separate proposal, because my survey results were that the community was in favor of the retroactive idea. So I put that to JP, and also JP said it's okay to go ahead with putting a separate proposal to do the retroactive thing and get the community to vote on it. And then if they vote on it, it will be all fine and proceed as normal. So that proposal was put, and I got permission from JP to kind of take information of the existing proposal. I had a bit of difficulty finding where it was, but I found out it was on the ecosystem, and so I did that today, and it was put well early so that nothing went wrong. So it's also in the same ecosystem. I think it's called Circle V3 should be our professionals or something like that. I can't remember the exact title, but it's there. So the issue has been basically what I said is to put it to the community, and so now it's being put to the community. I saw your reply today as well, which is fine. I only brought that up because at the very first meeting you did say something about the IOG had talked about giving some professional rates or something like that. That's why I wanted to have the discussion with you. I mean, we wanted to have the discussion with you to find out what that was.
Dimitri, this section is just to get the agenda straight, not to talk about a specific topic. So do we want to have this topic later?
It's not
I think it would just be nice to have a little bit of an update on those conversations, because we did talk quite a lot of it. So maybe we could just make a point to give a quick update. That'd be nice maybe for everyone to recap.
That'd be great. And then if I could just add a couple minute item to the conversation about the letter from the community, and just give a sort of a brief update on that.
This is going to fill up our agenda. Okay.
I'm sad.
I don't need too long, but I would like to just respond.
Okay. JP, you had your hand up.
I just want to say that I didn't give permission. There was no permission given. It was just, I said, instead of updating the other proposal to include retroactive pay, which hadn't been discussed and agreed upon by the circle, or the amount set, that I was uncomfortable putting it in, but I fully supported a separate proposal for retroactive pay as the community seems set on it via that survey. And so I encouraged him, if the retro pay was important, to submit another one. I just want to put that, I'm not a permission or a gatekeeper, so
Okay.
just to put that out there.
Yeah, we'll put that into the conversation later. And thanks for that, because you might not be here for that. Okay, let's jump into the Git board.
Ooh, the Git board.
The Git board. Why don't we take it in the same order? And sorry, my computer's really slow. One of these days I'll need to upgrade that. But we can start with Joey. And this is the part of the meeting where you can talk about what you've done in the last week, 2 weeks, what you're planning to do next, and then if you're blocked by anything that could be helped by others.
Okay. I do have a quick question on this board. For example, the first circle relationship there, it has the tool makers, but it also has some other roles there. Are they interacting with this agenda item?
Yeah, so the tags are in. If there's multiple roles, it just indicates it's a small working group, or at least it was when it was first put up. Multiple people said they would like to participate in working on that topic.
Okay, so there were more people involved in those.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I'm UTC challenged. So the first meeting, I was supposed to be last Friday. It didn't happen. but Felix came to my rescue and he arranged a meeting between myself, Aaron, and TiVo. And we did sit for about an hour, and we are going to have scheduled meetings for every 2 weeks to go through these items. Now, I tried to take notes when we were talking, and obviously they weren't, what I heard wasn't what they meant in some cases, because I did send out what I was going to cover here, and TiVo felt like some of the items needed to be added to. So what I'd like to do is I want to not cover all these topics today, because I want to meet with them one more time and see if we can come to some conclusions here. For example, just an example is I thought some of these had been completed, but TiVo's comments back was like, basically, they're not really completed. They're like ongoing type projects. So I don't know if these cards, you know, when you represent a project, you usually have a beginning and an end, but these cards are kind of like, they don't list the beginning and an end. They're like, we're going to go out and do all these activities, and they could go on forever, you know, some of these activities. So with that, I don't want to take a lot of time here, because I'll put together a document and I'll submit that back to everybody so they can see the results. And then we'll figure out what we can move out of backlog and what we can move across the board, if that's okay with everyone.
Yep. And that's a very good point, Joy. We shouldn't be putting stuff on the board that doesn't have a criteria for when it's done, because we don't want cards here to sit forever. That's not a good use of this type of board. Things should be moving across and things should be completing. So if there's a card there that is very vague or is a program that runs forever, we might talk about bringing that off or adding different cards that address a certain part of that forever stream that can be accomplished. So that
Right. So I'm hoping in our next meeting, we can define that, okay, this may be a forever project, but for right this moment in time, we've done A, B, C, and D, and let's end it there. And then the community can reiterate its concerns, and we can bring back another board if we need to. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, so good. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, are you blocked by anything or need help from other people here?
I'm only blocked by my UTC challenge, just trying to get my days and time straight. But I'll get there.
Okay. All right, thanks, Joey. Nadia, what have you been up to? What are you going to do next? And do you have any blockers?
Yeah, great. So as a community, it was really putting the button on some of the things that have been long, maybe longer initiatives, long in Catalyst here, meaning like between Fund 7 and Fund 8. So as a group this week, we had a really positive experience updating and improving the community advisor guide because we were able to get the download from IOG about some of the new tools that were built in order to solve for some of the issues and improve the whole process of assessment from the CA to the end of the VCA. So a lot of collaboration there. That was very positive. And we got the guide completed, and that was very much a joint effort between everyone with a lot of input. We also have been having solid discussions on how to prepare the VCAs and to create a guide for the VCAs as well that takes into account the things that we've learned over time. So that is in a draft and it is in the works, and I'll have more about that in the agenda. And it's also been a very solid time over the past 2 weeks of working with other groups to talk about the community advisor role and to work to engage people who have maybe other focuses or have other interests into also doing this role as a benefit to the community and to themselves as well. So that's actually been positive because you can hear the variety of questions, the questions that come up often, and the questions that are maybe less frequent, but also important to have noted, because one of the things we'll probably spend a lot of time on after VCA period ends here and the voting happens is that we'll want to really continue thinking about educating and onboarding new CAs, so we continue to help them improve the quality of the work that they're doing. And last thing is the sub-circle groups, so the sort of the champions of different initiatives in the community, and just some of the longstanding community members have come together, and we put in a Treasury proposal within the community advisor improvements challenge, so that the group itself could have a little bit of a rapid funding treasury, to everyone's point about the burnout and the intensity of continuously proposing and continuously needing to solve things, and some things being needed more urgently than others, and there being the resources to do that. And also to have an experiment in governance framework here. So it was a really nice effort there. We put that together, and we were able to set everything such that there was room for everyone within that challenge. And we'll look forward to seeing how that turns out. So very much accomplished. And I have set with Kenrick on Monday to go through these and make sure that they are all streamlined and updated, and to add some of the newer things that are going to be coming up in the future.
All right.
So blocking, I don't know. It's like the calm before the storm hours. Time will tell, maybe is the thing. But I do think that there's a lot of space for us to broaden the conversation and to incorporate more of the issues that maybe weren't burning fire issues, to some of the improvements and just thoughtful suggestions that people have across the community, that there's some space to think about. So just putting focus on that would be good.
All right. Thanks, Nadia. Dumpling, what have you been up to? What are you going to do next? And do you have any need for help from the group?
So the challenge that I identified was the communications gap between foundation and the community about what the foundation is up to and what their future plans are. So to fill that gap, I have a 3-step plan to address that issue. First is to collect data from the community. To do that, I've been collecting data with Twitter polls and doing like word of mouth, asking people individually, the combination of both, basically asking them, how much do you understand about the foundation's involvement in Catalyst? The poll is still ongoing, but so far I believe we have about over 60% of people voted. They have no idea what the foundation is doing in Catalyst. I'm quite surprised that only 60%. I thought it's more like 90% of people don't understand what foundation is doing in Catalyst, but we will see after the poll is finished. The second thing that I'm doing is opening up the community discussion, giving people a channel to discuss and to talk to each other. So to that end, I have created a Discord channel to invite people to come there and talk about everything in Catalyst. I am not really limiting this discussion to only Cardano Foundation and Catalyst. Rather, I said, if you have anything interesting or any curious questions or feedback, even complaints, you can go there. So the goal is that if there's a communications gap, I think it's more wise that we're opening the whole discussion there. And I'm using my existing following in the community to drive people there to at least have somewhere to start. Only opened that yesterday, so I'll report back in 2 weeks to see how we're getting on, how many people are getting there, and what kind of questions we're getting in that channel. The last thing is the actual conversation. So we have data, we have a place for people to gather and talk, and then finally we have the actual talk. Very lucky to get support from Frederick from Cardano Foundation. He's the CEO. He's happy to support this mission. So we are going to have a Twitter space, a live discussion, open discussion with the community on the last day of March. So 31st of March, Frederick and hopefully a few other people from the foundation, also Felix, will join the discussion to talk to the community about Cardano Foundation's involvement, about how the community thinks or suggests that foundation moves forward in Catalyst. Obviously, this is not going to be decision-making session, but rather foundation wants to hear from the community. They don't have a perfect way to do that. So having a Twitter space where everybody is invited to come and to talk to Frederick will be a good starting point. So I would invite all of you here today to join that discussion. And if due to time zone limitations you cannot join, then don't worry. It's going to be recorded so that you can rewatch it. And also, if you can't come, but you do have some comments or questions, then you can write to me. And I'll make sure to voice that to Frederick and to the entire community. When it comes to blockers or help, it would be really helpful if you guys can come onto the space and join the Discord server. I will share the links in Slack. So to get more feedback, how to approach this further. But most importantly of all, I look forward to hearing from you in the space on the 31st of March, 9:15 p.m. UTC time.
All right. Thank you, Bullish. Harris, you're up next, and then Mercy.
Great. Yeah, I do think it's important that we're adding items specifically to this board. There is an item that I have on the board related to some of the decision making for specifically for the circle. And that is an item that I'm actually going to be kind of deprioritizing for the time being. There is some sort of shifting that's happening. So that specific item that I have for catalyst parameters will be sort of delayed, and we could either let it sit there or sort of recast that in the future. So that it is something that is sort of in the backlog, and maybe it can just stay there. There's definitely been a lot of discussion going on about the process of how we'll be making decisions and things like that. I had an opportunity to go to Colorado actually last week, and I got to meet with some of the leadership team, and it was really good to kind of get some alignment with our legal team and many other folks. So it was really great to have that sense of connection and understand kind of from leadership within IO some of the direction that we're heading. And I'm super excited to be able to share some stuff in the coming weeks, but I unfortunately can't share and divulge too much right now. But it was really a great opportunity to get some folks on the same page. So I spent some time out there in Colorado, got to interface with a number of folks. So that was really quite good. So as far as some of the other tickets that we have sort of on the board, probably we'll be finding some strategies soon to be able to share that could address and specifically move some of the additional items as far as transitioning from governors to service providers, for instance. And so that's something that will be upcoming for sure. And did have I was quite busy, unfortunately, so maybe my time was being quite a blocker for my involvement in interactivity with some of the folks in the circle. So I do apologize. I did set up at least one brief time where I talked with Nadia for a short time, but I do want to play a more active role and be engaged more with the circle breakout meetings. I do think it is challenging to set up meetings, and we do need to sort of take some action, I guess, as a team to find the right mechanism to set up those breakouts. And I know a lot of you are interacting on a pretty regular basis, but I think there was some desire to meet, and we didn't necessarily meet as much as we wanted to, which is partly my fault and partly tools and making it easy to collaborate. So there's definitely some great things that are around the corner. Super excited to be sharing that in the future. Some of that will be a follow-up to that community letter that was provided for sure. So we have taken that has been shared with our entire leadership team. So there's definitely been some good discussion around that. And I think some of the items that I need to add to the board will be specific workshops of sharing updates and information with the community and finding some of those avenues. I did have an initial breakout with some of the wallet teams actually recently regarding some of the features that we're bringing forward, and I will be sharing more details of that in the near future. But specifically, one of the things that it's kept me very busy is we're actually working closely with adjusting some of how our groups are interacting within IO, becoming quite a bit more agile in our processes and flow. And I'll be taking on a specific role of governance technologies and spinning that into various areas related to voting mechanisms, tools for voting, tools for governance, and as an area of focus that I'm working on in collaboration with many others in our governance team specifically. And yeah, so definitely a lot going on. Time has definitely been some of the challenge, and I coming up into the next week, we're kind of recasting some of the activities of our team. I'll be taking just the next 5 days off toward the end of next week, and then I'll be sort of back in ready to get some things done and add some things to this board and helping to sort of move those things along. So I think we should frame the Catalyst Circle for the time being, just sort of being that sensing organization the way we've started and kind of continue to be. And we initially set up some specifics where we would start making some of those decisions, but there's other things in the works that will clarify what that future role will be. So I'll keep that on hold for the time being for now, and we'll continue the experiment and continue to learn and listen to the community and solve the problems that are at hand to make it easier to move things forward. So I look forward to sharing more details and having specific workshops to address some of those with you folks and the community.
Thanks, Harris. Mercy, what have you been up to? What are you going to do next? And any blockers? And then we'll go to Dimitri after that.
Hey, so managed to form our subcycle, and about 7 people, very representative of the community in terms of time zones, as well as everything else. We're quite deliberate in the choosing of the subcycle, so that has been good. We have a Telegram group that we're in there. Managed to hold one town hall after town. So it was an after town hall on I think it was last week Wednesday, and even the presentations in town hall, got some good feedback, and based on that, that's what we're putting on the agenda in terms of rephrasing what we are all talking about, right? So that it's not like we have a solution, but we are more coming at it from a place of curiosity and sort of getting the community to come up with solutions. Another thing that has been done is that, earlier on in Catalysts, so I don't know how many of us here have funded projects, but one of the things that happens in Catalyst, the coordinator meetings for funded projects, is that people really want to know what other people are doing so that they can either collaborate, maybe learn from them, like don't put in a proposal or, something that somebody has already done. Just, sort of go maybe copy or something like that. So that has been something that historically has been an issue. And that was the reason, one of the reasons why the coordinator meetings, there's a focus on sort of people talking about their projects. This wasn't something that personally I felt that I could do anything about. Thankfully, we're doing, we're sort of talking about another proposal, and it came up that, oh, you know what, that could actually be a byproduct of creating a platform. It's like a search engine, it's like a directory where people can actually very quickly find out about projects. So hopefully we are not spending too much time in coordinator meetings talking about our project. So I think I'm going forward. I'm going to work with Stephen to for us to put that as an issue, because I think that is something that can be done and sort of resolved within the next 6 months. And I think that the funded proposer community will be quite happy with that. You know, everybody's busy sort of implementing their proposals, and spending hours in meetings trying to find out what others are doing isn't really a good use of time. So still on track with the stuff that we talked about the last time that we met. Thanks to Harris, you know, the sort of follow-up. There wasn't much said specifically about the specific day that funding comes out, but I know that, you know, based on his update, it's something that he's working on. So hopefully we'll hear more about it the next time we meet, hopefully in a couple of weeks or whenever we hear about it. Blockers right now, I think it's just same. How do we get funded proposers to split their limited time for everything else that is happening? So still trying to figure out how to reach everybody. And I think that the subcircle is really a great way to get that done. And I do want to give a shout out to Vanessa from QA DAO. She you know, has been really working hard in terms of determining the work that the subcircle needs to do, and even put it in a proposal for the next 3 months, not this 3 months, but the next 3 months. So that's all that is happening. Thanks for the opportunity to give this update. Any questions? Did I say everything I needed to say?
Yep, I think you covered the 3 questions. Thanks, Mercy. Harris?
Are there specific items, Mercy, that you have on the board right now?
Sorry, say that again.
Are there specific items that are on the prioritized problems board? We didn't filter by that, but I just want to, I'm just trying to understand if you have items on the board and that the circle is actually utilizing the board.
Right. So there were 3 things on the board that needs a follow up on. So basically, making sure that, or ensuring, you know, however we want to say that, I asked because I know that this is another difficult issue, that we get a specific day in the month consistent, that the monthly allocations to funded proposals come out. So that's one thing. And, you know, thankfully you did say that you follow up on that. So thanks for that. And then the other thing is the sustainability of services in Catalyst and how we go about that whole issue. It's also another thorny issue. Another thing I think that was also put sort of under mind follow-up was, is it possible to get the funding, you know, the circle funding at the beginning of the funding round? I hope I'm saying this right. At the beginning of the funding round, let's get the money that is allocated to the circle into the control of the circle admin and treasury, so that it's, you know, we're able to control that, because yeah, it comes in too small of a portion for there to be any planning. Otherwise, I haven't got any funding because I heard that they ran out. So, so yeah, that's something that I think we need to follow up on. Yeah, sorry. Okay, done.
Getting back to, I guess, Harris's question, Mercy, are you going to create those cards on the Catalyst prioritized problem board so we can track the progress of them?
It was on. Stephen put it on.
Oh, he might be putting it into the other board that we don't show in this meeting. There's a second board based on community raised issues. Let me follow up offline with you and Stephen. And
perfect. Let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah, Stephen is really helping with this. So Yeah, shout out to him again. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Dimitri, you're up. What have you been up to? What are you going to do next? And do you have any blockers? And then we'll follow up with Rhys after.
Right. So from the last circle meeting, I have been talking to various people as to what they expect from, to first introduce myself as the general ADA holder and what I stand for, as well as inviting people to come and communicate what they want from me, as well as the good things that they see in the community that they want to improve, as well as the issues that they have in the community which they want to address. So I did this both by means of one-on-one conversations with people I know, as well as going to various community groups that I am a member of and introducing myself. Last week, I was able to do it to a couple of the town halls, that is the Eastern Town Hall. I did it with the Indonesian group as well as the English group. I was to do it for the Japanese group and the Vietnamese group, but they finished too early. So I was in the other room and I was not able to talk to those groups. So I'm going to do it the next time. Also tomorrow, I'm planning to do it for the African Town Hall. And whenever the Pacific Town Hall meets next, I'm doing it. I think it's going to be next Thursday. Inviting them to communicate directly with you, bring any issues. So apart from those two ways, which is to say one-on-one and addressing the groups, I also created a small survey which I posted in various groups. And as a result of that, people did come up with things that they like about the community, as well as some of the issues that they have raised. But I will share those issues now, but I will not put it as a prioritized problem, because what I did was I can't put it as a prioritized problem until I have a discussion with them to see exactly what they mean by it, as opposed to what they have written in the document. Because if I understand what they mean by it, then I know whether they are having a solution in mind, and in which case we can structure some sort of working committee to figure out a solution and then bring that both the problem and the proposed solution to the circle. So I will just read out some of the concerns, but keeping in mind that they are not yet going to be put as prioritized problems. So number one would be, the person has said, I would like to see the structure of circle and risk. Of course, I cannot explain all these things because I have not had these conversations, so I'm just reading it out. I would like the relationship of the tangential governing bodies addressed, circle admin, oversight, accountability. I would like to see dedicated funding for necessary governance structures to be funded without the need of going through the proposal process each fund. Then another person has said, circle structure has the general ADA holder severely underrepresented. The number of individuals included in groups like FPOs, funded proposals, toolmakers in the low thousands, while the ADA holders is in the hundreds of thousands or more, yet they all have one seat at the table with equal voice. It would be prudent to have a circle that was larger and represented the community more. Positions like FPO reps and toolmakers should be members of the technical council side eventually. More reps for the general ADA holder, perhaps representing different geographical regions, should comprise the bulk of the circle. Then another person has said, there is a growing bureaucratic body growing around circle and many governing structures. While it does still need a role, it is not elected or accountable to the community beyond the funding received. Circle admin, maybe that name should change to circle support group, should be elected by the community and paid like circle. The same is true of oversight and necessary documenting and accounting positions. All these with circles should be elected and have term limits of some sort. Then number three, the same person has said, it is not only efficient, it is not only inefficient, but it is dangerous to have necessary functions of the eventual bicameral body and all the associated governing groups funded round to round. This is a permanent piece of governance and should not be reliant on proposals. A reasonable amount of money should be given under supervision of circle and the technical council to fund these needed and elected positions, separate from the funding round itself. Circle and all three related positions must also receive enough money to do the job in a professional manner. $1,000 for 3 months of work is a joke for Circle reps, while the bureaucratic structure itself receives much, much more due to separated and fragmented proposals. Time should not be spent on proposals which with a large delay hamper the actual business of the people doing the particular work. And another person has said, another issue is information silos. I'm not exactly sure what that term means, so I wanted to have a discussion about that and see what they meant by that. And another person has said, endless talk, but without any mandate to act. So these are the issues that were brought up by the people through that first survey, and which I wanted to have a discussion yesterday, but nobody came for the town hall yesterday. The after town hall. Last week there was a 6-hour after town hall meeting we had, so that was memorable. But other than that, and also another person had raised up that they are concerned about D-reps, what it means, are they necessary, why has it been brought in? But nobody came to have a discussion about that as well. Even the person who brought it up didn't come, so I'm waiting to see where that discussion is going to go. So that was regarding the issues brought up. Then regarding the whole compensation issue, which was there from even before the election, the survey showed that people were supportive of doing a retroactive thing, and they wanted it to be put to the community for a vote, voting in the fund days. So either it would have to be put in the main proposal, or it would have to be put in a alternative proposal. So that is why when I discussed with JP, since the main proposal was going for future forward looking, the other proposal would be looking at the retroactive part. So that has been done. Basically to say the same amount as going forward to be put for the preceding 3 months for the circle reps. So that was based on the direct communication and the feedback given by the community itself. Also, the one important thing the community did say was that they valued the opportunity to express themselves on these matters through this survey. Because one of the last questions I asked was, do you feel that being allowed to express yourself in this manner through the survey for this particular question is valuable to you? And an overwhelming, I think it was about 75% of people said yes. Of course, granted, there weren't a great number of people who responded to the survey, but of those who did, 75% said yes. So that was what was that. Then apart from that, I had a chat with Alison on Monday, and what she said was that she had this thing called officials, which she had primarily at the after town hall meeting, but I've been having it more or less whenever people wanted to meet. So I also said, yeah, I will be having the after town hall meeting, but not every Wednesday because it's very late. Like it's the after town hall itself would start at about 1. So I would more rather than depending on that, I would be having open door throughout my daytime, where anybody can reach out on Telegram and message me with whatever they want. And then we will have a conversation through that, or fix the time for a Zoom call if that was needed. The other thing I'm going to go ahead and do is set up a separate Reddit account with the general data holders email. So I was going to ask Nori for that particular email because I misplaced the email that you sent giving me the email. Basically to set up a Reddit account with that, and that will be transferred to whoever takes over the position next. But through that email to go to, through that account to go to the various Reddit groups that deal with Cardano and Catalyst and any other blockchains, and introduce my.
All right. You have
Dimitri,
Harris?
you kind of cut off. Yeah, I think it's just phenomenal the amount of feedback that you've gotten and received, and I think it's tremendous. And it does sound like there's several items that we should actually trap and actually put onto the board that we can address as a circle kind of directly. So I do think outstanding. You're able to collect all of that input, and you've got some good channels of pulling that together. and it's really great feedback. So thank you so much for all of that, Dimitri. I if we can filter some of those things and we can address these things sort of one by one, have status updates, actually call out specific breakout discussions where perhaps we can address these one by one, or even bring these in as agenda items into the meeting, then we really can start to make some progress on specifically some of those items you're addressing, Dimitri. But yeah, I believe you were reading out of a survey that was completed, and I don't know if it's possible to share that. Is that something that's available as a document? And maybe that's something we can track and address offline.
Sorry, I didn't follow your question. Your link went down. Can you repeat?
I think Harris was just asking if the survey could be shared with the rest of the circle so that it can form the basis of kind of a offline working group and discussion.
Which survey are you talking about? The one which I did for people to bring the issues up about the community, or the one about the compensation?
The issues, I think, or both.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a list of items that were identified as problems, and just making sure that we bring those in and add those to the board and track. I do see one of the items that are there, and there's certainly a lot to discuss and a lot of great feedback that we really want to capture and make sure that we're addressing as a circle.
Yeah, I can straight away give that entire list of items right now. I will put it to Nori on the Telegram, because what's happening is I'm on my mobile talking while I'm watching the reading off my laptop. So I'm going to send that entire list right now to Nori.
Okay, thanks, Dimitri. You could put it on Slack, and it doesn't have to be right now. We can work on this over the next couple of weeks. But thanks, Harris. Those are really good points, and I think it'll be good to capture those things. We're running short on time. We're like way over for this section. So Rhys, do you have a quick update for us on what you've been up to and what you're going to do next?
Yeah, of course. I'll try and be super quick. I basically spent the last 2 weeks knee deep in Catalyst, trying to rally a bunch of SPOs to submit proposals for work that they do off their own backs, which I think we need to kind of help take them to the next level. So that's like people's spaces and projects people are working on where they provide a lot of infrastructure. So that's basically what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. I spent that time really trying to encourage SPOs to participate in Catalyst more and kind of work together and be really focused. So I've spent a lot of time doing workshops, talking with a lot of SPOs and little groups of people who do like spaces and stuff to kind of figure out how we can best do that and what people realistically need to support them, and not just like pulling numbers out of their head, but actually coming up with systems that they can use or infrastructure they need that they can actually apply. So it's been pretty crazy. I think I've helped at this point facilitate about 15 new proposals in the last 2 weeks, which I'm pretty happy about, to be honest with you. It's been a lot of work, but it's been worth it. Then I've kind of transitioned into doing lots of interviews and stuff for proposers to help get a bit of reach, especially now that we got to that finalization kind of phase where you can't add anything else to proposals. So it's really important for projects who have only submitted stuff like this weekend or something to have a way of actually talking to the greater community at Cardano and kind of bringing that conversation from within idea scale and kind of outside, because I know from personal experience that is a bit of an issue in some ways. Actually getting your proposal seen by other people is very difficult without spamming Telegram and stuff like that, basically. Joey, I kind of want to say thanks to you because you sent some people my way, and I really appreciate that you kind of helped out with that. So thank you. And I had a chat with Nadia because I was thinking about I was talking to Nadia the other day, and I was thinking about how I can help other people get more kind of eyes on their proposals, basically. And so what I was talking to her was an idea that I had about using the money that we were provided for Circle to help kind of encourage a way of either presenting some kind of ad or something in Twitter Spaces, which are run by a lot of SPOs. Dumpling, I haven't spoken to you about this yet. You're on my list, don't worry. and a couple of other groups like the Ada Cafe who already kind of almost run an entire area of community engagement, and to have some way of bringing Catalyst into that will really help with exposure to the greater community as well. So that was something I spoke to Nadia about. I was going to kind of bring that up, but I don't really want to just ramble on about that for ages. But basically pay some people to guarantee some kind of ad space for different proposals or for project challenges, or just understanding of where we are in the Catalyst cycle, and help people actually come in and make sure they're registered to vote on time and take part in the CA and VCA process as well. Yeah, so that's kind of it. Last week when we spoke, I was saying about talking to Becky Hopwood about getting onto the IOG Discord to have a breakout room. Now I couldn't do that, but I did manage to, well, they did let me kind of come up in the middle of their call and say that I was the representative for SPOs, and if anyone had anything to come and reach out to me. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling on all of these proposals. She did say that in the future we'd be able to organize more breakout rooms, which is great. So in that space, I'll be able to kind of have direct access to a lot of SPOs, because something like 250 odd turn up to those meetings, which is it's a really good opportunity to have proper discussions with people. And what else have I been doing? Oh yeah, so then going forward for the next 2 weeks, I'm basically trying to bridge those two things together, right? I'm trying to get people on to interviews to help promote their proposals. I'm trying to get a little bit more exposure for SPOs who are proposing different projects within Catalyst, and having a chat with people about actually finalizing these agreements and kind of figuring out how we can use that little bit of funding to help promote the Catalyst ecosystem within the SPO community.
Yes. You got a question?
Yeah, no, I did want to just kind of make a statement regarding, I guess, the funding that the circle members each have. And you know, one of the easy ways that we can do this, if you have specific prioritized things that you're interested in getting that funding for, we can have that discussion with Chris Baird and some of the other folks in terms of understanding, okay, the need, hey, I have the short-term need, or hey, I know I'm going to need this amount up front. You know, we can do that if there's a certain amount that you need, a quick discussion, any specific needs, you know, each of our respective roles, potentially if you have things that you really want to call out and hey, I need to do this and set up these circles. I need this amount, you know, I think I would encourage folks to do it. We do need to sort of treat the proposal for that funding, you know, in the same light as other proposals. And so it may not necessarily be like, hey, here's a default, let's get it all in the Treasury. And I know that's one of the topics, I guess, but I would just encourage folks that if you have specific needs, like Rhys, if you have a specific need and you want, hey, I need you know, this much money to do this, just make the request and it can be granted pretty easily. But I just want to encourage folks to maybe come up with a list of, you know, hey, here are the things I need on the short term, and get that request in, and that way the funding can be there as soon as you need it. So anyway, just wanted to kind of make that statement. But great to hear your interactions in the community, Rhys, and the general sentiment of SPOs. Is that been very positive in terms of your interactions as a whole? You're certainly, SPOs are the lifeblood of keeping the Cardano network running. So I don't know how the sentiment has been.
It's definitely improved a lot over what I saw in the last fund. There's a lot more interest in Catalyst, or there has been a lot more interest in it than there was from what I remember of like November, December last year. And that, you know, that might just be because of the time of the year, right? So it's hard to really gauge, but people seem very interested. People want to be involved. People have come to the to Catalyst with a lot of ideas, and they've come to me with ideas about proposals that they want to push forward, and they see the reason for Catalyst beyond just helping seed projects. And it's from I don't know, maybe it's just a more of an understanding and more exposure after maybe the last couple of rounds. It's just slowly compounded, and people, although a lot of the times they seem hesitant to want to do proposals themselves, to actually go for funding, because SPOs have this from my experience, they have this idea that they'll just do stuff for free because they have access to certain kinds of infrastructure. It quickly isn't free anymore, and then is costing them a couple of $100 a month for servers or just in time and work. And so I've been trying to encourage people to kind of change that mentality a little bit and go, look, this is a self-funding mechanism. This is a way to support the community. So let's do it, right? Because a lot of these people do stuff off their own back, and that won't continue forever. You know, as soon as something else more important comes up, then that takes the priority. And I don't want that to have a negative impact on the general Cardano ecosystem, which it could quite easily do if something serious happens to any of these people in their lives, you know? So yeah, that's, the sentiment's good, but there's definitely a need for the involvement of SPOs. And it's been a lot of tough discussions on the reality that could happen if you know, something happens, like if one of them is getting married or going on holiday and something needs to be done, it just can't be done. Or if one of them isn't working for some reason, you know, they can't really facilitate the work that they've been doing for the network. And so there needs to be, they need to understand the support mechanism that can be made from Catalyst and how to use it as well. So that's kind of where I've been bringing my kind of expertise, I guess, my knowledge. I wouldn't really say expertise. But yeah, the sentiment's generally good.
Thanks, Rhys. We're way over the stand-up half hour, so we're not going to get through all the consent agenda. But Dimitri, do you have anything really quick? I want to flip over to start getting into our agenda topics.
Yeah, 3 quick questions for Rhys. Number 1, please let me know how I can come and meet the SPOs, whereby I can introduce myself and say about being the general data holder and then reaching out to me. Number 2, I would very much like to find out more about the proposals because there are collaborations that can materialize. Just to say that, and let's have a talk about that later. If that's okay.
Sounds like you
Yeah,
guys
absolutely
connect offline. And
yeah, that sounds like a Slack thing for me.
all right, thanks. Let's jump in. We're way late by 25 minutes. So do we still want to keep this current agenda? We're probably not going to get to the bottom 4 at the rate we're going.
I'll drop my funding cycles till the next time because Chris Baird spoke a little bit about it yesterday, so I can drop that. And you know, I apologize to Chris because I missed most of his conversation, but I'll see it on the video. And there's concerns there. Everybody in the community already knows that we're all overburdened during this time, and I wanted them to consider having some meetings on what it would take to expand the time between the funding cycles so that give us a little bit of a break and breather. But I'll drop that till the next meeting.
Okay, so why don't we jump into subcircles and maybe we can move through these quickly so we can give Ian some chance to have their topic come up.
Yep. Okay, quickly, we all know that one of our primary objectives is to be a human sensor, right? Now, all of us can't be everywhere, and we can't be everywhere in every town hall in order to represent our individual circle or role. So it's my intention to fund 5 subcircle members to attend 5 town halls and also pop in and out of some social media chats. Now, my intention is to offer them $1,000 and pay them $500 up front and then $500 at the end of the 6-month term. Now, the objective really here is to establish a human sensor in all the town halls, not just for me, but for all of us to use. I don't want to just have somebody out there just for tool makers. I want someone to be there that if you have a video you want to present in the Eastern Town Hall at 4 in the morning, my time, then you can reach out to these folks and say, hey, can you present this on behalf of my role? And if I can get you guys to work and coordinate, I'll send all their information out once they're in place so that you can work as a team. If you're going to be in a town hall, just work as a team with them to present whatever you need for that day. And also, I don't want to be a funnel for information. I want them to collect anything that has to do with this circle And if it pertains to ADA holders, communicate back to you directly with that information so that we can build this rapport with them where they can support us in places and time zones that we can't be in. And so hopefully at the end of that time, we'll have 5 experienced people that have been in place for 6 months doing the censoring that may run for office in the end of the time. So it could be that these people would just hit the ground running if they're elected. So that's kind of the idea. We already put June Acra in the Eastern Town Hall. She's already received her funds, the 500 up front, and she knows it'll be 6 months before she gets anything else. And so I'm looking for everyone's input on the Latin America, Pacific, South Asian, and African town halls so that we can put the right people in place. I don't know a lot of people in the community, and I'm hoping all of you guys will give me some input so we can reach out and maybe recruit some people. And so there, that made quick event of that.
Joey, Nadia, you have your hand up.
Cool, Joey. You're thinking that these subcircles will be like a circle subcircle in that they're going to represent across rather than represent toolmakers in these areas. You're wanting to put people in place who could show up and represent on behalf of everyone here so that there's consistently someone listening in those areas. Is that right?
That's correct. So the idea is that they will collaborate with you. If you're going to be in a town hall, they'll collaborate. You know, you reach out to them, say, hey, let's collaborate for the day because we're in the same town hall. But if you have message that you need to send or information that you're wanting to receive from a community like the Latin community, you know, I had Spanish in high school, but you know, your eyes are beautiful is all I got left, you know. So there's no way I could go there and be effective. And June had already told me that the Eastern Town Hall is good because even there, although there's many different languages, she said that they accept English, and so I think that's going to work out good for her. But yeah, I want everybody to be inclusive of the whole circle because this would give us a broader reach into the community right now, rather than us go to our individual town hall and just represent our own role. So I'm hoping it'll help expand our ability to sense what's happening in the community and also to communicate with the community, because you guys have a lot to say to the community and a lot of your surveys and things of that items that you want out there. So you should be able to send out the same survey to every town hall and it be presented that same week, which I think will help the circle as a whole.
I like that a lot. I think that's great.
All right. Just question, should we give these people access to our Slack so that they have direct comms in? And if yes, then we can definitely facilitate that.
I think yes, you know, definitely, because I want them to be, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to be a funnel. If they have something for ADA holders or something for SBOs, I want them to go direct to the other guys. I don't need to be juggling all that information.
We can probably do a little organization of our Slack channels as well to have natural places for this stuff to land.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe we should look at seeing if there's funds to update the software, the Slack software, because I think you said before, if we paid a certain amount, we could actually put distribution list. So it would be a lot easier to communicate with these folks rather than just going to one at a time and trying to do that.
Yeah, let's definitely look into that. Rhys, you have a comment?
Yeah. I just wanted to say I know quite a lot of the WADA community, so I can get hold of them and try and help fill a gap there or bring someone in. They were really nice guys who have good reach across Africa, and that probably have a really big benefit on helping out where this is needed.
Super. I know Mercy had recommended someone as well, so get with her and you guys collaborate on who you think would be the good fit for there, and then we'll just do it.
Right.
I mean, June got her funding pretty quick, and I didn't run into any roadblocks there, and so I think we can get these people started and get them engaged. And I think good things can happen from it.
Amazing. Thanks, Joey. Next topic is Fireside chat, handshakes, and relay race.
Yes, okay. I was trying to make this quick as well. And it all has to do with Voltaire, right? And I'm going to read this out only because some people watching the recording may not have read the Voltaire thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read the piece that I think is most important. It says, when both a voting and treasury system are in place, Cardano will be truly decentralized and no longer under IOHK's management. Instead, Cardano's future will be in the hands of the community, who will have everything they need to grow and evolve Cardano from the secure, decentralized basis established by IOHK. And I'm bringing it up because it's important, because I think from my communication with the community, I think they think it's going to happen right away. You know, Voltaire is just right around the corner. Now, my professional opinion is we're not ready. We're not even close to being ready. And so there's a lot of work to be done. So Harris, you already had committed to doing a lot of things as far as communication, and you just earlier you spoke about it. So that was my comment on Fireside Chats, that not only Harris come back and maybe do some recordings of what you guys collect information from us on what we're thinking, but we need information back on what you guys are thinking. What are your plans? What's your thoughts on how we're going to move? And not only yourself, but all the way up the ladder to the CEO. You know, I believe Dumpling had mentioned that Frederick had spoke at their Cardano Foundation, and that's encouraging. And I know, I believe he also was the one that came out with the letter where they were going to support certain challenges. Those things were encouraging to me. So even if he doesn't appear in person, if he comes out and says, Voltaire's, this is what our plans are for Voltaire, this is our vision, this is where we want you to go, that encouragement in the community will set their minds in the right direction. Because right now, I think they think you're going to flip a light switch and voila, Voltaire's going to be there, you know. And for me, it's kind of like they think you're going to christen that ship, it's going to float out into the bay, and they're going to sail off into the sunset. Well, the ship's going to be full of people, but there's not going to be anyone that knows what to do. Not even going to be no one to navigate, no one to steer the ship, no one to swab the decks. So we need to prepare for all that. So that's what I was kind of thinking about the Fireside Chats. Okay. On the handshake. So a couple of weeks ago, Nadia had contacted me about some cross communication, you know. So right away, my spidey sense goes up coming out of the industry. I'm thinking I'm about to get work put on my plate that I wasn't expecting, but that didn't happen. What I got was a handshake. Nadia says, hi, I'm Nadia. This is my journey to get here and what I plan to do. And we shared those experiences. We had a few laughs, we enjoyed one another's company, and we got a full commitment of understanding that, hey, when the work does come, we can trust one another to hand off that work and be there for one another in the event that work is needed, you know. So that handshake means a lot. And so I'm taking that to the next step, to a relay race. We've all seen in field and track the people running the relay race with the baton, right? That handoff of that baton to the next guy is the most critical point in that race. And these guys to do it at the level they're at, they have to practice and practice and practice, because one little mistake and the race is lost. So what I'm hoping is that we can start some discussions on who and what on the other side, the IOHK side, are doing what task. And you alluded to this already, Harris, earlier in your conversation, that there's people over there building tools that we don't know if we even have the skills over here to do it. We need to identify processes, procedures, and skill sets here that will match what's over there, so that we can collaborate on these things. So when we do the handoff, that we'll be better prepared for it. Now, I'm coming at this from my world And I've done this in about 3 different times in my career successfully. I have changed entire ecosystems, but there you're in a business environment, you know, it's more controlled. You have support of all the management, you have your budget. I can go out and I can identify the right team, the right tools, and I can spend $1 million, $2 million on hardware and software. This environment's a lot different. So we really need to be prepared to do that handoff. And right now, the community just isn't there. We don't know who has what skills. And so I'm hoping we can start some discussions on that. And like you were saying, Harrison, you've got some more information, and I'll be really happy to see us start sharing some of that. So that's that. So that moves me to the community treasury. Now we all know that
Looks
the
like
heart of
Harris has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Harris. Sorry.
Yeah, I loved how you framed all that, Joey. Thank you so much for sharing that in sort of nice ways and metaphors that we can track and understand. I think that's phenomenal. I love the concept of the Fireside chat, sharing more. I know we certainly get a lot of information directly from Charles, often over YouTube, but perhaps with specific things and more focused things intended for specific audiences that we can work out and address. There are some definitely incredible discussions that have gone on, along with some specific plans. Cardano, we absolutely will hand off things in the right way and make sure that there's a beautiful send off, and we're not going to do it willy-nilly, and we're not going to be doing anything that's irresponsible, because this is such a great community and such a great effort, and the technology is so solid. And so we acknowledge that, definitely a perception of desire to move things quickly, but we will do it in a responsible way, and we have some ideas and plans on exactly how to do that. And so we will be sharing soon some great things that have transpired in the recent weeks, and so I'm super excited to be sharing some of those details with folks. So yeah, with regards to Fireside chats, for sure, ensuring that we have a smooth handoff. There is some active development on open APIs that we're working on. I think can really help with certain aspects of tool making and pieces and integration into various aspects around Catalyst specifically. We do want to kind of frame the circle activity for sure around Catalyst as much as we can, but certainly there are future aspects that will be coming out and will be part of what's shared in the communications around the corner here. But for sure, how can we help in the realm of Catalyst? What are we hearing specifically? What tools do we need to facilitate Catalyst decisions, mechanisms? These kinds of things are part of the charter that we really do want to focus on. So I just wanted to get a quick response in there, Joey, and thank you for framing that. That was all.
Mercy, you have your hand up.
Very quickly, I just want to affirm what Harry said in the sense, I had a long chat with Dimitri, in the sense that we need to, in as much as we are focused on Catalyst, we need to be, becoming more global in our outlook. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Just to continue then, Harris, thank you. That was very encouraging. I really, like I said, I've done this several times, and having the skills sets, the right teams in the right place is critical to making things happen properly. So I wanted to talk about, just quickly in line with that, a community treasury. Now we know the heartbeat of this whole Catalyst thing is the treasury. That's what funds everything, and they've got the circle with the voters, etc. So maybe we can start some discussions with the treasury, because if we can replicate their procedures on operations and security and the skill sets that are required to operate a treasury, then we can build some confidence from IOHK when they decide to actually turn over the treasury. And furthermore, even if we could actually put in place a treasury, and just off the top of my head, maybe $1 million in a permanent fund and $0.6 million in an operating fund, and then put in place all the functionality that exists right now in the main treasury, so that we can learn how to operate a treasury, so that we can build confidence in ourselves and in IOHK. So I just wanted to throw that out. Maybe we can start some discussions on that as well when we're talking about exchanging ideas. So I think that's it. The Joey show's over.
All right. Thanks, Joey. And I think that last one is a really interesting take on that. And because I understood there's a lot of different complexities around the primary giant treasury and how those funds are released, and being able to experiment and learn how that's done and replicate it in a smaller scale does build that knowledge and expertise there. And yeah, I think that's an excellent suggestion. Look forward to seeing more conversations around that. All right, Nadia, you have the circle position and on serving as VC arbitration body and for
Okay, great. So Dimitri has his hand up. Was that about the previous thing?
Yeah,
Before I start?
Yeah, just wanted to say one thing. Joey, that's a great idea. And one of the things that could be done perhaps is to the people who are interested in taking on treasury roles, or who are qualified to do that, could work on a small particular restricted areas, like a small pool under the supervision of someone who is already handling the treasury, so that they could learn the processes of doing it, like an overseer or an oversight person, supervisor, and then little by little they will get conversant with how it works, and eventually whenever they could take on more and more capability in that area. That's one way it could be done like this.
Excellent. Mm-hmm.
Right. Thanks for that, Dimitri. Yeah, and that's definitely a conversation I think that we can take to Slack or other offline channels and develop over time. But I think it's going to be a really big, complex topic, perhaps. But looking forward to see how that develops. All right, Nadia.
Great. So this question is, I'll give it like a little bit of background, but mostly this question is maybe more broad of a question to say that there are some asks coming from the community that I'm serving about the circle, perhaps serving as a body of helping to make decisions on things. Some of these things are very official and very process related. Some of them are more, I'll say this, the second one is a little bit more community driven, I'll say it that way. So one of the things for the VCAs, for the veteran community advisors, is that right now we're continuing to refine the process of how we determine assessment quality, and then what to do if we identify someone who is doing the assessments in a questionable way. So there's a lot of so that the data will show that this person is not in alignment with either with the criteria or is out of scope with the rest of the assessments that are being done. So the question became then, who is then the arbitration body to look at those? So we've identified people based on data. Who is the body, or who makes the decision on whether or not these people should be how these people should be addressed, and whether or not their assessments should be filtered out. And right now, that's been sort of a combined process that doesn't have really an official response. And that's something that's wanting to be adjusted so that there's real integrity and transparency in that process. So the group has asked me to come and take the sentiment from the circle on whether or not we could serve as an arbitration body. This is not an official ask to do that, but to actually just get a sense of, if the VCA team the team of VCAs were to come to us and say, okay, based on this criteria, we've looked at the data and we've identified these issues in terms of the integrity of the assessments being done, or something being out of whack in some way. Could we be a body that understands what those criteria are, and as a mostly unrelated group would be able to look at that and say, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, sort of help to make those decisions. So maybe I'll pause there and just take any questions on that, because I'm not sure everyone has been a VCA in here or has been one recently, and or maybe is familiar with some of the previous issues in Fund 7. So maybe I'll leave some space there. Go ahead, Harris.
Yeah, no, so certainly as problems are identified and communicated, a lot of that input's been coming into IOG, and we certainly have had some breakout discussions with some of the core members of the Catalyst team in terms of helping to address it, scripting to detect specific activities within that area, and sort of understanding where the issues are. And it does make sense to potentially have a task force or somebody that, a group of members that would be, perhaps circle members, IOG, some technical folks, maybe in the tools side, sort of combining to help address some of those problems. So I think in terms of the facilitation, I think it would be awesome to drive, possibly through yourself, Nadia, and bringing people together for sure. As far as the decision making, I'm not exactly sure, all the right people, because there's definitely some technical pieces to it, right? And some nuance of assessing, hey, there's a pattern of behavior for this particular, VCA or CA, right? And so it can be challenging to do that. And I don't know if it makes sense to bring that into this body, just some initial feedback, but maybe a task force of the right members kind of pulling together. I don't know if that would be considered a subcircle or a task force or whatever we want to call it, but rightly so. I mean, there definitely are decisions that need to be made, and some of that is, within IOG right now, and probably needs to be brought outside into a broader circle. But there has been definitely steps of community involvement, and what can we do? What do we know? What have we learned? And I know the community has been tremendous on pulling some of that data and bringing that forward. So it's certainly valid to have that, but how we structure that, I think is certainly open for discussion.
Yeah, and to clarify, this body would not do the analysis of that data. It would receive the result of that analysis. That's just, if I didn't clarify that really well.
That makes sense.
Dimitri, and then Mercy.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but I have a couple of questions which I would want to consider before I said yes to do that. Number one would be, I'm both a CA and a VCA, or at least I was a VCA in the last round and a CA in the previous 2 rounds. So I don't know whether that would be a conflict of interest or whether that makes me capable of doing it. That's one question. The second question would be, in order to make a decision, one would have to understand the basis on which the evidence was arrived at, or at least the conclusion was arrived at. Otherwise, I could not make a decision without knowing how this evidence came about. And I mean, simply because it was handed to me like that, I couldn't make a decision like that. And thirdly, if we are asking action to be taken against somebody who is a CA or a VCA or whatever it be, that person should have a right to speak for themselves as well, without unilateral decisions being made against his action based on some basis of data being analyzed by someone. He should have a right to speak for himself with a qualified person to speak on his behalf.
Yep, agree. And that is definitely something that was, that outreach and that ask for feedback on approach was definitely part of the process, and it needs to be. Mercy.
Yeah, I think I very much like what Dimitri has said. And you pretty much, Nadia, you pretty much answered what I was going to say, sort of in reaction to what Harry said, in the sense that, this is a governance body. And I don't do a lot of CA work, but I'm in the community, and this, like they do their own analysis. They know where the problems are. It just, I think, doesn't look too good when they are sort of the judge and the prosecutor in a sense. So I think that, having the circle as sort of another layer that arbitrates, it just makes it look, more humane, I would say, and less self-interest. And, if we add what Dimitri is saying, as practical as it can be, because that can also get quite, we'll figure something out. But yes, I think that in theory, I like the idea of having that one degree of separation in terms of some of the CAs actually making the conclusive decision.
Great. It does also, the idea of a task force that includes maybe some of us and others as well is an interesting idea I can take back. So it sounds like there's initial interest and we have details to flush out so that we make sure that we're all feeling the appropriateness of the setup. Is that accurate? Okay. I have a second thing linked in here, and this is from a community member as well. And this is more of like, I'll let you look at the link, but it's more of a just the circle providing like a layer of observing the integrity and the correctness of some of the outcomes of projects. So this is a proposal for creating a visualization of the workings of Catalyst overall. It's a call for different visual interpretations of it. And then the community would end up voting on that. But then we would run a layer of observing whether or not there was correctness in how those work. So more of these two ideas both are different kind of needs for circle involvement, and circle maybe being that degree of separation of support and thinking about what the community is making. So this question is more about feeling out how we approach these and thinking about how we might work together on them.
All right. Thanks for bringing that to everyone's attention, Nadia. And then you have another topic on collaborating and recruiting CAs across groups.
Yeah, just very briefly, this is what Rhys mentioned, and he and I were talking about how, the CA role, having the CA role full of people who really care about doing quality work in this role is very important, and not everyone really understands the role, especially if they've come in from a different way or because of a certain interest or they filled a different role. So he and I have been talking about how we might collaborate and try to engage a broader community base. And maybe some people would even come into Catalyst as an invitation to seek out and think about that role. And it's very timely because we don't have a whole lot of time for recruitment anymore here since it's opening up, but just maybe doing a push together. And Rhys, maybe I'll open it for you to just comment on that too. And not something we need to get super deeply into here, but if there's interest in it, maybe we get a little group together in Slack and think about how we might tactically go about it.
Yeah, sure. I'll step in quick. Yeah, so for me, it's just about reaching the people who want to contribute but don't know the best way to do so, and finding a way to reach people who have experience in the right aspects of not just Catalyst, but in the verticals that proposals are coming in from, so that the assessments can be made better and to a higher standard from the first time round. So it just mitigates any risk of any problems occurring before they happen, right? So we just kind of get ahead of it and try and build a kind of an understanding that it's a very important role that we have in Catalyst, and it needs to be filled by people of a high standard as well. And we can't just flood people in for the sake of it. We need to try and find ways to reach the right kinds of people. And that was it, really.
Nice. And I know Circle V1 had a similar issue when there was a flood of proposals and not enough CAs to do it all in time. And Victor and Felix worked together to bring in hundreds of new CAs. So they may be a good pair to also collaborate with to see what they did and what was effective and what wasn't. All right.
Great. I think that's it. Maybe we'll take that into further discussion. And if anyone wants to be a part of that, just ping me or Rhys.
Thanks, Nadia. The next one is Mercy, sustainability for core services and catalysts.
So that is pretty much explanatory in the sense that we just want to reword. It's just like what JP said. We just want to reword how that second issue is raised, and we can probably take it offline, Nori, just because of how we need to capture stuff on the board to follow up. So we can do all that together. Very quickly, I just want to circle back to the last discussion, in the sense that it's just slightly the language in terms of how we look at it, because we have to be careful not to think that certain people are more qualified than others. I think we should look at it that whoever is willing and able and interested can come in, and then it is up to the community to develop training and accessibility programs to make it as inclusive as possible. So just to add that, thanks.
That's a good reminder, thanks. And for the sustainability, yes, I encourage talking about that in Slack and doing it. I just want to bring the circle's attention that I've seen 2, 3, maybe 4 different challenge settings for Fund 9 that address this in some way. So there's a bunch of people out there putting forth their own ideas on how to deal with it. So it may be useful to wrangle all those together and have a conversation across the groups. I know Heinz has one, the Bridge Builder submitted one, and I've seen a few others. So it's worth looking at what people are doing to address that, because I think people are paying attention and trying to solve that problem. All right, Dimitri, the compensation conversation, do you want to get into that now?
Yeah, so basically it was that, so the outcome of the survey was that people were okay with ranges from $3,000 to $5,000 a month, with the highest point coming at about 3,500 to 4,000. That was the peak of the largest number. Of course, this was not a large sample by any means, so it's based on what the number of people who responded said, and also the fact that there was overwhelming consensus for the retroactive aspect of it, in the sense of slight majority, but again, compared to the few numbers, so it was a majority. And the largest majority was to the fact that the community should have surveys like this and be able to directly answer. So whoever wants to, from the hundreds of people who are in these various communities, about 20 people responded, and this was the number who said that they do want the opportunity and they do value the opportunity to respond. So anyway, the outcome of that was that they do see this as an effective tool to get their opinion. And on this particular issue, the opinion was that retroactive is okay, since they all recognize that the 1,000 for 3 months was not a realistic number. And it had been voted on because that was all that was there. So, so anyway, I spoke to JP, and as a result, there is the second, the proposal for retroactive funding, which has come about as a companion to the existing one for the future funding. So that would have to be voted on by the community. So since we hadn't had a meeting, we hadn't put the circle admin team as the author of it. So the author of it is going as myself and Mercy at the moment. So if the circle chooses, they can add themselves as a collaborator to that same proposal, if that's possible to do so. I don't know the technicalities of that, but that is where it stands at the moment. So the number that has been put is the 3,000, which is the same as the forward-looking proposal. It is the same number, but in response to the 3 months of February, March, and April corresponding to these few months before fund date, whatever is approved kicks in. So that was the outcome of the discussion as well as the process of the discussion. So that being said, when issues like this come up, I will be hoping to create a small survey in my non-professional capacity of not being a social or a data scientist. So I don't know the perfect way of surveying, but as best as I can, I will frame the questions and put it to the community.
All right. Thanks, Dimitri, for the update. Joey, your hand is up. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, Dimitri, in your survey, was there anything about yearly compensation versus those monthly compensation? Because I remember Harris had mentioned something about maybe we should consider putting in a proposal for yearly, but I think the one that actually went in was only for the few months. So, you know, it's going to be repeated often. I just hope that we can get to a point where we can, just like in business, you have a yearly budget rather than having to go through this on this cycle. So anyway, that was just my question. If your survey included anything about that.
No, the questions basically ranged around what people felt the respective roles should be paid, whether it should be retroactive or not retroactive, whether there should be a permanent allocation from IOG, or whether people should have to vote about this each and every time voting was called for, and whether they felt that this was an effective way of getting their feedback, and whether they valued this as a way of getting their feedback, because I got a mixed range of emotions from people in communities. Some were saying we don't want to be surveyed, some were saying we do want to be surveyed. So of course the people who answered the question said overwhelmingly that we do think the survey is a valuable way of reaching out, because otherwise I, as the general aid holder, do not have another way of getting it unless people do this. Like there is no dedicated group where I can go to in a Telegram or a Discord or wherever and say, hey guys, tell me what you think about this. So a survey is the only way that I can reach out. It's kind of remote control, but it's better than nothing. So that was, to answer your question, no, there was nothing about yearly because that wasn't really an issue that needed to be addressed at that point.
Okay. Harris, your hand is up.
Yeah, there's an interesting tool that that could be used for surveys that does use AI and that does actually allow the community to pose additional content to it. It's there in the chat. It's something that some of our folks have looked at using, and possibly could be a tool for the circle to reach out to their constituents and get and garner feedback. So I just wanted to briefly mention that, not necessarily an endorsement, but a potential way of leveraging and getting feedback from constituents out there.
All right, thanks for that, Harris. And if people are interested, you can check that out. Okay, and one thing I just wanted to mention is we should also probably think about and kind of have a conversation, not here today, but as we move on with this conversation, about how many hours per week you all are kind of putting into this role. Right now, the funding was for 10 hours a week, and it looks like a lot of you are jumping way above that and turning it into a half-time role or maybe even a full-time thing. So that's another thing to consider when we talk about compensation, is how much of your time does it take? And is it evolving into a full-time role? And would that be more inclusive to allow somebody to quit their job, step in for 3 or 6 months as a full-time this, and then come back out into civilian life? That may be more inclusive if the hours get more and more, but people still have full-time jobs and things to juggle. So that's a question I would throw in that mix to understand what the time commitment is, because that's really how most of us kind of calculate the compensation levels as well. Nadia.
Are these survey results somewhere that we can all see them? I'd like to just see what people's feedback was. Can they
Yeah,
be put? Is it public?
It's on my Google Drive, because I just got people. I built the form on the Google Drive and I put it there, so I can see how to share that link or something. I think I can share that link.
Yeah, they should be fairly shareable from Google. Rhys, really quick, and then we'll jump into Harris's last thing.
Yeah, sorry, super quick. I just off the back of what you were saying, Nori, I would be careful about calling it a full-time role if the term is only 3 months, because advertising it like that might bring its own risks with people not wanting to take part out of fear that they would need to quit their job to actually assist with the process. That was it. Just a little comment on that.
Yeah, that's a good comment, and definitely all the things to consider as we go through this, because right now it's advertised as a 10-hour-a-week kind of role. So I just wanted to bring that up as we talk about higher and higher levels of compensation.
That's a long 10 hours.
All right, Harris, letter from the community. You wanted to address that from last time.
Yeah, I just wanted to restate, we're really grateful for the community to provide such insight and ask great questions. We will have a formal response with a letter as well, which is great, and then followed up by actions of workshops and information that we'll be sharing on the numerous topics that were raised in that. So just wanted to mention that it has been shared widely internally, and we're providing a response to that. So thanks again for offering that letter.
Thank you, Harris. We are actually almost right on time. Thanks all for speeding through that agenda at the end. And I just wanted to cover really quick. There's a survey for that end of meeting, which we've been doing, but it's been updated. So I just wanted to walk you through that really quick. It's no longer anonymous, so please select your role. And the reason for this is now that the circle is a funded mechanism, we are required to report to IOG a update on what's been going on every month in our monthly report, or they won't pay us. So we should follow the same kind of procedure as every other funded proposer out there and do our monthly reports. So in here are 2 additional fields because there are 2 proposals that we are needing to report on. And so the first one is just give us a quick update in a couple of sentences of what you've accomplished in the last 2 weeks. And then we'll compile all of those at the end of the month and send those into IOG as our formal circle report for the funding for your all salaries. So that will be a mandatory field for you to get paid. So that's how we're going to calculate that, because it's a mandatory field for the Treasury for paying you to get paid. So this will also be a mandatory field for you all to get paid for doing your role. And then the second one is you all have mentors now, except for Dimitri. Oh, I guess Dimitri has Allison. And so just put a short sentence there so we can track your mentors' activities, because they're also being incentivized to do so. And we want to be able to report back on that proposal, on what the mentors are doing and how they're engaging in doing that. And we felt the best way to collect that information is from you all. Are you getting value from your mentors, and how often are you engaging, and what value did you drive? So those are the 2 new questions. And then the rest are the ones from the previous survey. So that's kind of the changes moving forward so that we can start to do the reporting and tracking the proposals for IOG. As long as we're getting funded through the proposal mechanism, we're going to have to produce these things every month, and the admin team didn't know how to do it by ourselves. So we're going to have to ask you for your input. Does there anybody have any questions on that?
You'll email that to us, or where do we get that?
I just put a link into chat, so you should be able to click on that right away and fill it out. And it's also in the agenda. It's linked at the very bottom here. All right. So we're right at about 4 minutes left. So why don't we start our closing? Let's go in reverse order this time. So this is just a quick check-in at the end, how you're doing, how the meeting went, and to see how we're finishing. So we'll start with Dimitri and then go to Dumpling. If Dimitri.
The meeting went well. The meeting went well. It's very productive, and I'm quite happy with it.
All right, thanks, Dumpling, and then Mercy.
Yes, meeting went really well. Big shout outs to Dimitri, who reached out very proactively, getting my feedback and questions. Also shout out to Rhys. I'm also an SPO. Thanks for advocating for SPO here in a circle meeting. And I know he's been collecting a lot of feedback in the SPO chat, including me and a few other people. So thanks for that, Rhys, and excited for our next meeting.
Thanks, Mercy, and then Rhys.
Yes, it's been a good meeting, despite sort of the lack of sleep on my part. Thanks to everybody for making it great. I've enjoyed it. I stayed awake. That's huge. Thanks.
Thanks, Mercy. Rhys, then Harris.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm doing well. The meeting went really well. Apologies for being a little bit late. I was doing deadlifts, as Dumpling said. So just a meeting overran, and I apologize that won't happen again. But yeah, I mean, it's really nice to be in such a productive environment. Everyone's very heavily invested in this, and everyone seems to be putting. It's almost like a race for who can do the most work at this point, which is kind of amazing to be a part of. So yeah, I'm just super grateful for it.
Thanks, Rhys. Harris, and then Nadia.
Yeah, I'm definitely super grateful for the energy that this team brings together, and all the activities and all the touch points, and then the innovation and the great ideas. And so I'm just energized by this group, and really, really thankful to be here working with all of you. And I look forward to doing great things in our upcoming meetings. And I'm glad we have a little more time to hang out than just 6 meetings. We can actually work towards getting things done, listening to the community, and making actions happen. So grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. Nadia, and then Joy.
I'm excited for deadlifts to be added to the agenda for next week or next time. Not that excited, actually. I just want to wish everyone good luck over the next week. I know a lot of everyone here is in some way going to be in support of this whole process. So it'll be cool to see the train leave the station and arrive at the next station. So yeah, appreciate being part.
Thanks, Joey.
For me, yeah, it's just a great group of people to work with. I really appreciate your candor and your personalities. And I'm looking forward to you sending me some of your recommendations for the sub-circle so we can get some good communication going, and all is good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I know we're all a little bit tired from the proposal week, and now we're heading into the CA week. So keep your energy up, take care of yourselves, and thanks for showing up and being such awesome people. We will see you on Slack and online and in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
The
Nori.
survey.
Perfect. Thanks,
I've just
Nori.
posted the survey here, and I've also posted it on Slack. If anyone wants to check it out.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Super. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.